The Triad region remains one of North Carolina's most attractive housing markets, offering a perfect blend of affordability, quality of life, and economic opportunity. As you consider purchasing a home in 2025, the Sharp Mortgage Team is ready to help. With median home prices significantly lower than the national average, first-time homebuyers and families continue to find excellent value in the Triad. And with programs like NC Housing Financing Down Payment Assistance, your new home may be more affordable than you think. Or if your holiday bills have been stacking up, the Sharp Mortgage Team can help you consolidate your debts and put you on a successful road in 2025. Call them today and they'll advise you on the best strategy. Call Ashley and the folks at the Sharp Mortgage Team at 336-575-9448 today for a no-obligation conversation that could be your best decision all year. The upcoming podcast of Twin City Talk is produced by Tim Beeman of Such and Such Media. Start your own podcasting journey by visiting suchandsuchmedianc.com. These podcasts are produced weekly, and every episode can be found at their website, twincitytalk.com.
Welcome to Twin City Talk. Today we're talking to Mary Haglund. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
You guys probably know her from Mary's Diner, which used to be a staple for a very long time. How did you get into, what made you go into the restaurant business?
Because I'm nuts. When I was a little kid, we didn't have any money. And so restaurants were kind of magical places to me, like when we got to go. And I'm like, wow, you can go in there, you can order anything you want, whatever. And so it was always like real special to me. And then my mother was not a great cook, but my two grandmothers were, and they're the ones that mostly influenced me growing up with cooking. But then as I got older, I got married way too young, had my children, and then I really wanted to open a restaurant. I was kind of obsessed with it. And of course, as we got older and, had a little bit more money or whatever, we could eat out. So I've loved to cook ever since my first cookbook, I think I got when I was like 6. It was the little Betty Crocker's cookbook. I think my grandma gave it to me. And I just love to cook. And so I always had this idea in the back of my head that I'd love to have a restaurant. But, never had that kind of money, So it was literally a dream. And one time I went to Greensboro, this is many, many, many years ago. And this is the only time I've ever done this in my entire life. I've had my tarot cards read since then, but this was like first time I ever did it. It was kind of serious. And I don't know if I took it that seriously, but this lady read my tarot cards and she said, well, what are you looking for? And I said, at that point in my life, I think I was in my early 40s, and I had gone back to college, continuing ed, because I was thinking about being a substance abuse counselor. But always in my heart dream was to have a restaurant. So I told her those two things. I said, I'm in school right now to do this, but this is what I really want to do. So she said, well, let's look at both of those. So she pulled cards, and she said, oh, if you do this counselor thing, you'll be successful. It'll be great. But she said, this restaurant thing is coming up as a blessed venture, like this super extra special card or something. And I was so, can I cuss?
Oh.
That's good. I was so pissed because I'm like, great. I can't do it because I don't have that kind of money. So I left there pretty angry and continued my education for a little while longer. And then miraculous things started happening. And I ended up with a restaurant, which was my dream, which was also an impossibility.
That's such a super cool story. Yeah. And it's funny, I'm sitting here listening to you thinking about how you're saying you were on the verge of being a substance abuse counselor. And what would go into doing that, right? Taking people who are in need, helping them through, loving on them, caring for whatever, and maybe helping them to another place. And as somebody who frequented your various establishments for a very long time, that's exactly what you do, only you do it through food. What a beautiful thing that turned out to be.
Thank you for saying that to me, because I'd much rather do it by feeding you than, sitting in a chair and having a heavy-duty conversation.
Yeah, but I mean, that's why you're so beloved. And anybody who spent any time in any of your places.
Thousands of reasons.
Well, it's just, you walk through a restaurant. Well, it's true. I know it sounds cliched, but it's like there is love in your place. There's love in your food. And when you're around people, it's genuine care. And it's not just the owner showing up to say, hey, how's your food? Yeah. Or I hope you're happy. There's a genuine sense of care that goes along with that. And that's what everybody notices and appreciates.
And I mean, the thing of it is that what always amazed me was people would come to me over the years, they still do sometimes, and like, I really want to open a restaurant, And first thing I'm like, have you ever worked in a restaurant? And they're like, well, no. And I say, well, then do that first. And I said, do you like people? And I'd be like, I said, if you don't like people, then why would you do this to yourself?
It's the most forward public-facing industry.
Hard. It's such hard work. And the only reason I got through it was because I do genuinely still, after 71 years of living, I still really do love people. And I just did a post on Facebook yesterday about there are people born with a sense of awe, and they've actually done scientific studies now, and some people just don't have that. And I have it in spades, and I get people get upset with me because you're too emotional and you're too happy or you're too dramatic and I used to feel bad, like something was wrong with me, and I realize now that
there's something wrong with them.
Just who I am, and they don't have that, and that's okay too. Like, that's fine, but it is very true that I'm kind of like beets. You either love me or hate me, because I know I'm a lot. But I do genuinely love people. And when people would come into the restaurant and my food wasn't fancy, and I don't like being called a chef because I'm not trained. To me, I make food that tastes good to me and it's comforting, and hopefully it will help you have a better day, and feel the love, because there really was a lot of love in it. And
the number one ingredient in your food was love.
Absolutely. And, that's a hard thing to sustain, because being in business, in a small business, dealing with things like the health department, they just want to smack all the love out of you, and just money. And I'm not a business person at all. I mean, quite frankly, the fact that I had a successful restaurant for 20 years is mind-blowing to me, because I am not a business person. I can barely balance a checkbook. And because that wasn't what was important to me. But then again, I have ended up at this point I never thought I'd be able to retire. And the way everything worked out, it's still going to be tricky. I'm not rich, but I have enough, I don't have any debt, and I've still got some skills, and this kind of thing. But it really, I believe that when you work from here and you work from your passion and love for people, and or art, like artists, I'm very into that, of course. That's going to make your life worth living. Yeah. That's going to make your life worth living.
Yeah, you always have struck me as somebody who tries to find the best in people no matter what. Whoever
Sometimes
walks in the door.
to my detriment.
Well, I think that's the downside of that skill, but
yes,
it's
true.
maybe one of the greatest qualities anybody can have, that you're looking for what's good in people. I mean, imagine what it would be like if tomorrow morning everybody woke up and they were actually actively looking for the best in everybody else.
That would be beautiful.
Wouldn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, well, the world needs more people like you.
Yeah. That would be good.
It's true.
That would be good.
It's an incredible thing to watch happen, right?
I appreciate that.
Well, I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
First, where did the name Mary's Of Course come from?
Oh, this is one of my favorite stories because it's about my father, who he passed away in 2017, and he was one of my most favorite people in the whole world. He was a magnificent human being, and unfortunately, Alzheimer's took him out. But so I kind of lost him there at the end. But so when I was getting very close to opening the restaurant, and I had worked in restaurants here in Winston for years, and people kind of knew who I was, and I was like, oh man, I just don't know what I'm going to call this restaurant. And he came up to me one day and he said, I think you should call it Mary's, of course, because when people say, where are we going to go? They're going to be, well, Mary's, of course. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's brilliant. It's so simple, but also it identifies me with the brand, which is a blessing and a curse, like most things. I mean, because I'm so highly identified with it, But so my dad is the one that came up with it, and it's one of my favorite things. And he and my mother, of course, were two of my biggest fans and two of my biggest PR people. And they used to walk down. I remember them walking from their house in Winston-Salem, holding hands. To the restaurant. It was really sweet.
Yeah, that is awesome.
It's beautiful.
Now, this one's not a question. I've told you this before, but I think everybody needs to know this.
Okay.
You don't know who he is, and I don't know that Susie does. Burgess May, do you know who J.J. Watt is?
Sure.
Okay. So, J.J. Watt was on the Dan Patrick Show, and he says, I hate BLTs, but my wife, except for one, is because my wife is such a fan of this one in North Carolina from a place called Mary's. And it was about her. He said this on the Dan Patrick Show, one of the most watched sports talk shows and listened to. And I just thought that it was nationally broadcast that.
And no surprise.
Anybody
who would have had one.
Yeah.
So J.J. Watt is one of the best football players in the last 2 decades.
Thank you for telling that because I know nothing about sports.
Yeah. Just
But I think you did
player.
share that story
Yeah,
with me.
the day of the outdoor market.
Yes, I mean, I also love that story for another reason, because my father would only eat a BLT at my restaurant. He refused to eat them when my mother made them. I mean, it was like, these are the best BLTs in the world, and I can't have them anywhere else. And that's so sweet. I mean, and I love it because I believe that food should be simple. And I believe that if you start with great ingredients, you're going to end up with a great product, great dish. Whereas if you start off with inferior ingredients and you try to fancy it up or doctor it up or, smoke and mirrors, you're going to end up with something very disappointing. And so that was, I literally was one of the first people to bring farm to table.
Yeah.
That wasn't even a thing because I'm such like Alice Waters was my food goddess, and she's about 10 years older than me, and I watched her career, far, far away. I did get to meet her one time, which was so awesome. But when I first opened, I had one farmer, and that was Margie and Bill Imus, who are they still have a farm up near Pilot Mountain. And because I very quickly realized that like the food that I was getting from food service companies, was not the quality that I wanted. So I went looking for local eggs, local grits, local flour, local dairy, local veggies, all of that. And it was, I'm not from the South, but I've lived here since 1978. And so I hated grits the whole time. But then when I started doing research for my restaurant, I realized people had fed me nothing but instant grits, which is to me an abomination. And So I did research, and I found out that there were stone ground grits from these mills that were like your grandma or your great grandma used to make. And I went and made some of those. I'm like, oh, now we're talking, you know, and just things like that. And people used to literally come up to me and say, how can a scrambled egg, just a scrambled egg, be that good? And I said, well, let me tell you why. First of all, that egg was in the chicken's butt like 2 days ago. It's just salt and pepper. And then most egg places cook their eggs in this inedible, man-created, hydrogenated oil, which actually your body cannot even process. And all of my eggs and everything were cooked in ghee, if you want to call it ghee. Clarified butter, thank you. So, and I had a big fight with the health department once about that because they said it wasn't shelf stable, and it actually is shelf stable. But anyway, so if you, like I said, if you start with these simple ingredients that were so fresh and so beautiful, I mean, I literally have been sometimes in a food market and seen some produce that was so beautiful that I would start crying. And I remember one time when Whole Foods first opened, I was standing there and there was these golden beets and there was these striated beets that, you know, the candy striped beets. And I'm just standing there, I'm just like, and I'm getting all choked up. And this lady came up to me. She goes, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yes, just look at these beets." And she was like, "Wow." So that's the sense of awe. Like, to me, beautiful produce, like literally a perfect tomato, can bring me to tears. It's just such a gift. All of these things that we get are such a gift. And I was raised in the 50s, the years of the regrettable food. And when I was a child, I never saw a fresh herb. Nothing like that. Like, that just is. Now, my grandmothers did have gardens. So fortunately, that was my one connection in getting through. Because my mother was actually way more into the regrettable part because it was convenient. She was raising a family. She was poor. I get it. But my grandmothers all had beautiful gardens. So I learned what real food tasted like. So that was good.
Springtime brings so many special occasions, so why not spring into Dewey's for all your celebration needs? From custom, unique cakes to balloons and party tableware to the perfect gift, Dewey's is your one-stop shop in the Triad. Even if you don't have a big event on the horizon, it's always a great day to stop by your local Dewey's Bakery, especially on Mondays for a free Cake Square Day. No purchase necessary and available all year round at any of their Triad area locations in Winston-Salem at Thruway Shopping Center and Renolda Manor, and in Greensboro at the Friendly Shopping Center. Need to place that order now? Visit local.deweys.com, and as a listener of the Triad Podcast Network, you'll receive 25% off by using the code PODCAST. Our friends at Dewey's are always finding great ways to give back to our local community, providing millions of dollars to nonprofits. Your organization can also partner with Dewey's to raise money. Just email cake@deweys.com to learn more. Don't miss the chance to make your event even more special with an order at local.deweys.com. Use the promo code PODCAST for 25% off. Dewey's. Celebrate every day.
When the weather warms up, so does the real estate market. Sounds obvious, right? It's true. Spring typically means more home sales. But how will the current interest rates affect people's decisions? What about inventory? Is it high or low? And does that benefit the buyer or the seller? And how do those factors take into account a certain price point or area of the triad? Now it's not so obvious, is it? That's why you should turn to the Ginther Group to make sense of it all. You need someone you can rely on to assess your situation, read the data and trends, and point you in the right direction. Interest rates, inventory, even new construction. There are so many factors that impact our local market. And you should get your information from the folks right here in our backyard. Contact Blake Ginther and the Ginther Group today, 336-283-8689, or visit theginthergroup.com. Buying, selling, investing, or just learning, whatever you need, Start now, and like me, you can become a Ginther Group client for life.
What is the one food you can't live without?
Wow.
If you had to pick one.
Soup.
Okay. Any specific kind of soup?
No, but I eat soup almost every day of my life. In the summertime, I'm obsessed with gazpacho. And as soon as the fresh, beautiful summer tomatoes come in, there's always a pitcher of gazpacho in my refrigerator, and that's what I drink for breakfast every day. And like now, when it's cold, I eat hot soups, and there is always a hot soup in my fridge, which most of the time I make it kind of like a base so that I can pull that out and add things to it to make it this or that other flavor.
Yeah, so you can have a variety of soups
Yes.
with one standard
That's right.
base.
And that was the best answer ever, by the way. She totally subverted your question and just knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
I can put anything I want in there.
So
I mean,
going
it's
the opposite
true.
way, though, what food do you not like at all that you just would not eat?
I don't.
Not that you don't eat, but that you won't eat.
Yeah.
Oh, anything slimy.
Interesting.
I'm a big texture person.
So like oysters out.
Okay, I didn't have a raw oyster until I was 60. And there's a reason. I was born in landlocked Indiana, and every Christmas my grandmother would make this oyster stew for the men in the family, and they were bottles of these gray-looking, slimy,
Yeah.
horrifying. And I was a little kid, and I'm like, about vomit watching these people eat this stuff. I never saw a raw oyster.
Yeah.
So then, fast forward, on my 60th birthday, I was going to New Orleans. And there was a man who came to the Meridian, and he wrote a cookbook called Treme. And he was there doing a dinner, and they had fresh oysters, of course. It's New Orleans, right? So I said, well, here goes nothing. And it is very delicious. Tastes like the ocean. It's still raw. Is not my very favorite. Like some people are just freaky for them. Mm-hmm. I can eat them if they're nice and fresh with a little hot sauce or something.
Oh, yeah.
But I prefer them broiled or something like that. But I don't like octopus. I don't like eel. Anything slimy or rubbery.
So if calamari is deep fried well, I mean,
I
seasoned
don't like
well?
calamari.
Okay.
I do not eat it. I don't like it.
Okay.
I think it's gross.
Okay. Well, great. Yeah, because I've always told people, I say it's the best tasting rubber band you're ever going to have.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Yeah.
And really, I can live without that.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. Yeah, for me, it's asparagus.
Oh.
I hate asparagus.
You have a lot of things that you don't like, because I remember waiting on you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And that's fine.
Yeah, so that's what
That's fine.
you said earlier. You're like a beet. You either love them or hate them. I hate them, but I love the idea of them.
I also hate organ meats.
Okay.
I'm with you on that. Yeah.
Gross.
Same.
When I was a kid, we ate chicken livers and all that beef livery. I don't have to eat that anymore.
Right.
So I don't.
You're a grown ass woman. I'll eat what
And
I want.
I have a really close friend. She's one of my crone friends, and she gets a big kick out of me because she said, for somebody who's such a foodie, you have a lot of things you don't like to eat. And the older I get, the worse it gets.
Yeah.
And I'm unapologetic about that. I don't like it.
Your tastes evolve.
Yeah.
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 I kind of like some organ meat. When we were in Paris, the last time we were in Paris, which was in 2022, the last meal we had was sweetbreads. And it had the look, the consistency of pork.
Yeah.
And it was phenomenal.
Delicious. Yeah.
Yeah. But
actually have
he
had
asked us,
those,
he
yeah.
says, you know what this is, right?
Right.
I said, yes, I do.
Yeah.
And he's like, and you still want it? Yeah, this was L'Ami Jean or whatever the restaurant was. A very, very
Tim,
it was
don't try to
short.
speak French.
It was no. It was short. It was smaller than
Yeah.
Mary's.
Oh, wow.
And it was you got in
Yeah.
if you got in.
You're lucky,
And
yeah.
when I left, I literally chef kissed
Yeah.
the chef because it was amazing, and there was no talking. Not that I like a rambunctious and rowdy
Yeah.
kitchen, but
No,
this
really?
was yeah. but this was dead quiet.
Yeah.
And other than clanking.
Yeah.
And it all come out, and I did that, and they all applauded me for doing that.
Right. Yeah.
But
French people will eat anything that they can run faster than and kill.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
I'm not French. No. I have a lot of things that I don't like to eat.
Yeah. I like I always say, I will try anything once. And I have tried almost everything once. Some things I just don't go back to.
Yeah.
And really asparagus for me, I was about to say gross again, but asparagus for me is it's not good enough for me to go through what I have to go through afterward. I'm like,
Thank you, Tim.
it's okay.
Appreciate that.
TMI.
Yeah. Well, you rearrange the letters on my name. That's what you get.
That's great.
That's funny.
Yeah, but I can't live with myself for the next 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
And Travis Myers once snuck some in on me. He like ground it up and put it in there, and I'm like, well, that's good, but it wasn't great, but that's good.
Right.
And then I went to the bathroom and I come back out and they were all laughing at me because I had it early, and then we stayed around
That's
drinking.
funny.
But they all were
And
laughing
it's
at
true
me.
that the older we get, like they're just like I just don't really eat a lot of pork. I mean, it's
Same. I've started eating less of it. Not like it, for some particular reason. I just
Yeah.
sort of gravitate further.
I mean, I had too much the other day because a certain chef who I love served it to me, and I wasn't going to turn it down, but I paid for it. Like my body just can no longer handle that, and I almost never eat red meat. Mostly, I just eat like chicken and turkey and seafood. I was a vegetarian for like 17 years of my life, and I actually, believe it or not, when I opened the restaurant, I wanted to open a vegetarian restaurant because that's really my preferred way to eat.
Mm-hmm.
But Winston-Salem was not ready. It still isn't.
It still isn't.
I mean,
they
it
complained
still
that they
isn't.
wanted a
I know.
vegan restaurant, and
I
then
know.
they got one, and they
And
didn't support it.
I mean, so I tried to have a lot. I feel like we did a really good job of offering a whole lot of vegetarian stuff to people, and that was great.
yeah, you did. You did an excellent
We
job
did
of
good
that.
with
Yeah.
that, and I appreciate that. And when I cook for myself at home, which is most of the time, I mean, I eat pretty much plant based with a little seafood, a little chicken thrown in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will eat anything that had a mother.
Oh God.
I love the flesh of my fellow vertebrates.
Even veal? You'll eat veal?
No.
Okay.
Say no. Say
Okay,
no.
I'll say no.
What about foie gras?
Oh yeah,
Oh God! Do you know how they make that?
I do. It's unfortunate.
It's horrifying.
It is.
Says that with a
But
smile.
I say that because I'm like,
Are you part French?
no, but I am a Francophile. I love it all.
I know. I'm really not a normal foodie.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things I will turn my nose up at.
Oh, there's still a lot of other things that I don't do,
Yeah.
but I just like to experiment with food.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
really
yeah.
good. I just got a Blackstone griddle,
Oh, those are
nice.
great.
and only thing I've done on them was to season it, I did the stuff that they recommend, and I
Yeah.
did that, and then I did a whole bag, 3 pounds of onions.
wow.
To get that
Yeah.
season on there, and then
that was delicious.
Then I used the onions
Yeah.
to make my own French onion dip. I'd never done that, and I'm like,
Nice.
this is awesome.
Yeah,
So,
that's great. That's
yeah,
great.
yeah. So one more thing, and then I know we're running along, but early in my relationship with my wife, she was a Mary's, of course, diner, a frequenter there often. She was coming out of a really crappy relationship,
Yeah.
and that was her refuse, right? To get there to get away from stuff. And then we started talking, and you opened breakfast, of course, Mary's too.
Right.
TOO. And she actually, because this was a day into night restaurant to begin with, and she actually, you know this, I'm
Yeah.
telling the
Yeah.
people, that she was one of the first
Yeah.
servers there. She opened the place. And I would come because her ex-husband was stalking her a little bit. Plus, I wanted to be around her. We weren't even dating.
Right.
And I would come and sit with her, or she would wait on me. And admittedly, she was a horrible server. She says that. It's not just me saying it. She said that. And
Don't
she
really remember that. Okay.
but she remembered
Finding the best in people. Well done.
Shama, I think it was Shama, called and said, "We love you, but you don't have to come back." Because
your wife.
Yeah. She was going to, not to a customer, but to my, because she was in school to become a teacher.
Yeah.
And she goes, "We know you'll be a great teacher."
Yeah.
And that actually touched Stephanie.
Yeah.
But that's how I got to know you better, was after she wasn't working there and you transitioned into the breakfast place.
Yeah.
Into the afternoon and you were done.
Yeah.
We were there. That was our Saturday haunt.
You guys were there all the time.
And just getting to know you, and we've got to hang out a couple times. And Mary, I've just got to say that you are one of the most influential women this town's ever seen.
Yeah.
You are one of the biggest hearts of anyone this town's ever seen. You are a force of nature. And I love that I even know you, let alone be able to call you a friend.
I mean, thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't know
I think that's echoed by an awful
what
lot
else
of
to
this town.
say.
Yes. This town, I'm sure, would write the exact same thing.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
means a lot. Because, like I said, I'm not from here, but Winston-Salem made me, this is my home.
Yeah.
You know, this is where I'm from. You know, I couldn't ever leave here. And the fact that some crazy little housewife from Indiana opened a restaurant and was received the way that I was and treated the way that I was by my community. And that's really what it boils down to. It doesn't matter how the people, the powers that be were, or anything else. I always, when I go to my people, I always get love and support back.
Yeah.
And they know that I'm there for them as well. But also, I think one important thing that people should know about me that don't personally know me is that, now I'm an old lady and all the good stuff, and it's like, oh, she's such a sweet old lady. Wrong. Wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, I am very tenderhearted and very sweet and kind, but I will fuck you up if you come after somebody I love or a dog or a child. I mean,
Sure.
I don't put up with that. And the older I get, the more I get like that. And I think that that's important to know. And I don't apologize for it at all.
It's time to get serious about your financial future. It's never too early, but it could be too late to get started. And that's oftentimes the hardest part, getting started. How much do I save? Where do I invest? Do I save for college or retirement? How much for each? And who do I talk to about it all? Okay, we'll keep things simple for now and help you answer the last one. We recommend you begin with a local financial advisor, and that's Jennifer Johnson of Three Magnolias Financial Advisors. She'll sit down with you for a complimentary introductory consultation and go over all of your questions. Get started on the path to achieving your financial goals. Visit 3magnoliasfinancialadvisors.com or call 336-701-1600. Get comfortable with your financial future. Three Magnolias Financial Advisors: retirement, financial planning, and investments. Securities offered through Private Client Services. Member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Three Magnolias Financial Advisors. Three Magnolias Financial Advisors and Private Client Services are not affiliated. Private Client Services is under separate ownership from any other named entity.
I think you're the embodiment of that old saying that's, I don't know what the secret to success is, but the secret to failure is trying to please everyone. You've always been so true to yourself, and it's evident from the moment you walk in your place, the way that you handle yourself, your atmosphere, and so forth. It's unapologetic, but not in a, I don't care what you think, so much as this is just who I am. Right. And that's, again, to what you just said, to what we've been praising you about this entire time, is that if more people could just embrace who they're meant to be and then put that out for all to either enjoy or not be a part of as they see fit, then we'd all sort of be better by the influence, wouldn't we?
Yeah. And I do have to say that at this point in my life, like, I've always been very supportive of, and still am, local businesses and all. But at this point in my life, I've honed in on two things. First of all, artists, which of course we're working on the documentary, which is going to be amazing. And secondly, but really this is kind of my first thing, is other women, because it's just so hard. Number one, being a woman in this world. Number two, it's getting worse. Number three, being a woman in business, being a woman in the restaurant industry. Like, I had to work twice as hard to get half the respect. And I'm not being a baby about it. It's just true. Mm-hmm. I mean, and I still have female friends that own restaurants, and it's constant battle. And so trying to be there to support and uplift other women in business, but also just encouraging the young women coming behind me. Like, for example, I'm so proud of my daughter Lily because of what she's doing, at the mothership and with artists. And, she's a young mother with no money. She's got 3 little kids and she's doing this. And there's so many women, young women, that are joining together, because what worries me is leaving this world in the big mess that it's in now. And I just want to make sure that my daughters, my granddaughters, and everyone's daughters and wives, and all the women that we love and around the world, women have been mistreated from the dawn of time and treated as second-class citizens. And I'm just really sick of it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what's going to happen in this administration. I'm sure it's not going to be that great, but also, I'm a fighter.
Yeah.
And so whatever happens, I'll be there, and with a grateful heart for what I've been given in my life, and hopefully enough people will wake up and become aware that, we need our reproductive rights, and we need to support women, and we need to not treat women as second class or even worse citizens of the world. So that is kind of where I'm at right now. And that's kind of my thing that I'm trying to do.
Well, I want to say too about Lily. She is just like you. She learned it well. She is unapologetically Lily.
That is so true. And I truly admire that about her.
Yeah, absolutely. And one last thing, I know I keep saying this, but you said something, this is home. Home is where the heart is, and Mary, you are the heart of Winston-Salem.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, you guys. Thank you for your kind words, and thank you for letting me.
Thank you for being a friend.
So great to have you here.
Thank
so
you
great to catch you up. I've missed you. I feel like it's been a long time since I've seen you.
Yeah, and by the way, I love your place.
Oh, thank you so much. It was so great seeing you in there.
Love it. Love it. It's
means
so
a lot.
awesome.
It means a whole lot.
Yeah. You've made a very cozy, just so inviting, and when you walk in there, you just feel that same kind of a vibe.
Well, that's what I was hoping for.
Yeah.
She and I, we've all talked about it.
You totally nailed it.
Well, that means a lot. I was wanting it to be a place where no matter who walked in the door, they felt like, I feel like I can.
Oh, yeah. I went to the Valentine's dinner that Jordan did.
Yes. Packed out.
And it was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, and she kept apologizing because I think it was overbooked, maybe.
Well, yeah.
There was a lot
That's
of
a
people.
whole story
I know,
behind that.
I know, but here's the thing. I had a friend that I was talking to, and it was packed, and people love that energy.
Yes.
And we were drinking wine, and we were getting, we'd get a little taste here and there. And Jordan was because I adore her.
Oh, yeah.
So apologetic about how long everything took. And I said, let me tell you something. What you did was amazing. You're outside cooking on the street, and you're feeding all these people with this amazing food. And we had time to have conversation.
Yeah.
The number one thing I hate about a really fancy, nice, upscale is that they want to rush you in and rush you out so they can make more money, which I get it as, business side, but also like, can we have a conversation? Can
Enjoy each other?
Can we have a glass of wine before the food comes? I mean,
An inadvertent thing that happened that night was because it was overbooked. Some tables ended up being at places where they would be sitting next to other people they didn't know,
and they got to be friends.
And they got to be friends. And I was making laps around the room, just kind of checking in on people. I'm like, you guys okay? Everybody doing all right? Like, yeah, these are our new friends. And I'm going, thank God it's not. These are our new enemies.
The energy in the room that night, because I found out what was going on, and because they talked to me about these things, but I was like, you need to stop worrying about this. I said, just take a minute and feel the energy in this room.
Jordan,
everybody in this room is happy.
Yeah.
They're having a great time.
Yeah.
And they're not rushed, and they love you. They love this place. They love the food.
It was an unforgettable kind of experience.
Thank you.
It really was.
I really hate that I missed it.
Well, I mean,
it was amazing.
It really, really was. It turned out to be, it was a ticketed event where you figured it would be, is it multi-course ticketed event with wine being poured or depending on what you ordered, and it was meant to be just sort of that kind of relaxed thing. Well, through a whole series of things, it ended up being so booked out that we were quite literally packing in. We took all the tables that were outside, brought them inside, and so you're sitting, 2 feet from people that you don't know, and it ended up being this place where, because of the downtime in between the meals, because there were so many people to then try and feed, all these conversations started popping up.
That's right.
And the next thing you know, people are sort of sharing multi-conversations, and these groups start forming together because, we're waiting on the next meal. We're enjoying this glass of wine. Who are you and what do you do? And it became this really beautiful evening.
And if you remember, at the first Mary's, it was so tiny.
Yes.
And the tables were closed.
Yes. Yeah.
And often...
If
you'd been outside waiting in line, you might have talked to somebody, and then you would come inside and you would be right next to somebody. I can't tell you how many people became friends at those tables.
Yeah.
Because it was close and people were just having a great time. And that is something that's very difficult. You can't make that shit up. That has to be real.
Food is a gateway to friendship.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's a lost art that way, too.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so when I was at that dinner and experienced that whole thing, because I've been worshiping at Jordan's table since I was their very first one that she did years ago. But when I felt what happened there that night, I was like, wow, this is very special. This place is very special.
Thank you.
Just the whole thing, because a lot of places, and if there was anybody that was angry about that, screw them. They can go eat in some uptight little joint and pay too much money for some not that great food,
Right.
Anyway.
Right. Yeah.
So bravo to you for creating a space like that.
Well, the Remedy's been a very
hard to do,
beautiful, fun experience, and I'm super grateful to the community. We've had a lot of fun with it. That means so much coming from you, by the way.
Oh my God,
that's
I
high
had
praise.
so much fun.
Yeah, high praise. I'll look forward to seeing you there again soon.
Yeah. I've been back several times.
Okay.
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing you there. I hope we cross paths there at some point.
Well, thank you, Mary, for joining us and all you've done for Winston and giving your heart.
Yeah. It is truly it's reciprocity, in beautiful action.
Indeed.
So I appreciate you guys having me.
It's great talking to
Okay,
you.
cool. Can I put my glasses on? So Hey.
Thank you for joining Twin City Talk. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you. The views and opinions portrayed by guests on this podcast are not necessarily those of the distributors and hosting companies. And if you love this podcast, that's great, but don't think about stealing it. Reach out to us and talk about the content because it is copyrighted.